Welcome back everyone, Marco Collector Gamer 77 here, and today we'll be doing a quick overview slash review of the Unico MVSX. And this unit you can pick up from Amazon or directly from Unico themselves. It is basically $3.99 for the base unit. It is all pre-assembled, so nothing to put together. Just take it out of the box, plug it in and go. Or if you do buy it directly for $4.99, you also do get the base stand, which brings it up to almost the same height as the arcade one-ups with a riser. Personally, I went ahead with the base as well because it does make it look like a nice kind of mini version of the red candy cab that we all loved as kids. And here is the outer shipping boxes. It does come in 3 boxes because Unico had noticed that the base top didn't quite fit some of the units, so they sent out an alternative one. Fortunately, my base unit, the stand itself, and the top arrived first, and then I just received the actual arcade unit on Friday. As you can see, it's very well packaged, a lot of good styrofoam, good strong cardboard boxes, definitely no problems there. After taking everything out of the box, basically just a quick shot of the base unit, the sides, and here is the front of the base. And that actually is not a sticker. That is a plastic mold, which has the inserts. Unfortunately, they aren't real. They aren't active. That would have been pretty cool if they were able to fit that. I do understand why they did that and also put coin slots on the base itself in case people just picked it up as a bar top and didn't do the stand, but I would have liked to have a choice. The unit itself is pretty sweet. The LCD screen is nice and sharp. The vinyl on the sides are very well done. And as you can see, that lit marquee has no problems whatsoever. When it comes to the control deck, there is a nice clear acrylic cover on that panel. And of course, the sticks and buttons, like the arcade one-ups, are clones. But compared to my Marvel versus Capcom cab that I just reviewed recently, I do prefer the sticks and the buttons on here. They are still a little mushy. I mean, if you're going to compare it to, half buttons or sticks, or even sound with sticks, but definitely a lot more doable than the Marvel vs. Capcom cab. As you can see here, again, the light Lilith marquee has no problems. Nice, clear, no light bleed. Fortunately, so far no dead pixels on my screen. I've heard that some folks were having some problems. You can go ahead and actually contact Unico, and I've heard their customer service has been great. The speakers are in the front, which I kind of wish it was underneath the top, but I can understand that would probably affect some of the lit marquee with light bleed, but I wish they were a little bit bigger, even if it made the cabinet just a smidge taller. The Again, with about 50 games, there's multiple collections. So there's the King of Fighters collection. What you're seeing here is Samurai Showdown 2. It does have Samurai Showdown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 Special. One of my favorites is Samurai Showdown 2. It's wonderful to have this. I mean, I do have this game already on the ACA Neo Geo with my Switch, of course. I also have it on my Neo Geo X. And I actually did used to have the AES version, but I'd ended up trying to slim down my collection. Um, and as far as I can tell, emulation's pretty decent. I mean, if you're a hardcore Neo Geo fan, honestly, you probably already have an MVS or an AES unit. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm hardcore. I am definitely a huge fan of Neo Geo, and I do try to support them whenever I can. I did support this as the cab itself looks wonderful, and at least it is licensed by SNK from Unico from SNK. So I do want to support this, and then hopefully in the future, as Bill McLaughlin on the Facebook Unico boards have noted, that 2021 will have some exciting pieces when it comes time to licensing and adding games, and I do look forward to that and adding some of the missing pieces like some shooters and other games like Baseball Stars 2 if that's possible. I know they're still up in limbo just because of licensing, but one can always hope, especially if they do include Neo Turf Masters, another one of my favorite. I wish they would do Nightmare in the Dark, and I think Bill said that they're trying to work something out with some of the other uh, manufacturers or developers that made SNK games. I am looking forward to that. As you can see, it does have the blood code on Samurai Showdown 2. That was actually automatic on my units. I didn't have to change it. Now you see King of Fighters 98, one of my favorites. I'll be honest, 96 is one of my favorites. I love that soundtrack. You do get 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2003. And for the longest time, and actually for many years, I actually did have all of the King of Fighters on AES cartridge. Um, with, of course, this heavy fourth quarter with things the way they are with COVID and, of course, with the pandemic and budgets, I did have to make a choice, and I ended up selling my Neo Geo AES box unit along with the King of Fighters 1994 to 2003. Um, again, I know a lot of hardcore would have never done that, but for me, I think it made the most sense. Honestly, it was really more of a display item at that point. I was just displaying the King of Fighters AES boxes as a collection, dusted them every other month because it just took a while to get everything set up, plug in the Neo Geo, use the Neo Geo HDMI adapter and play it, which, I mean, of course, it sounds great. The emulation on this is decent, but it's, of course, not perfect. That said, selling that Neo Geo AES box system along with those 10 King of Fighters games did fund the Neo Geo MVSX along with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. So basically, I was able to get by without really spending any money, since it, that sale funded all three and able to add this and those reviews to this channel. Honestly, if you are diehard and don't mind the emulation, the only thing I would suggest, based off some folks, is possibly changing the buttons to half buttons, joysticks as well. At least for me right now, I'm okay. It's serviceable. I'm definitely going to have to get through some of the nuances of each game and kind of relearn them, even though I play them on the Switch, etc. And of course on a Neo Geo stick when I had my AES. That said, I mean, honestly, for me, this is a great deal. 50 games, totally worth it. The emulation itself and the sound, pretty decent considering the smaller 2-watt speakers. 2-inch speakers. Definitely not as loud as some of the arcade 1-ups, but decent for its size. And the overall build quality of the cab is actually really well done. Load times aren't really that bad. As far as, I would say they're almost akin to the Nintendo Switch titles. I have heard from some of the other users, especially if you visit a forum like the NeoGeo.com boards. There is a user, his name is Blackanese Ninja, and he's basically done a very extensive kind of a test as far as with sound emulation, the controls, etc. He has noted that there are some bugs, which is basically the same bugs that was present to the Neo Geo Mini and even the Neo Geo Stick, which of course Unico had a hand in as well. And honestly, for me, I mean, I'm not so well versed in each game that it really stood out. You really have to kind of nitpick. The slowdowns in the game are basically the same as the ones that you've had, when they were actually on the AES, and things like some of the the heat kind of effect in Metal Slug 2 is there, or the way the fire in Last Play 2 with the Watayama wavy heat effect is kind of absent in this current emulation. Also, King of Fighters 99, there's also some in-min drops from directional and button inputs, at least based from Blackanese Ninjas, what he said. He's definitely tested this. He's also has his actual MVS right next to this unit, so he did a lot of the testing. I do recommend checking out the Neo Geo boards for some of those. Some folks have also noted some dead pixels, again, like I noted earlier, but I've heard that the customer service for Unico has been wonderful. Here I'm playing Metal Slug 3. Sucking. It is a great game, and I am looking forward. All the games right now, especially Metal Slug 3 and Samurai Showdown does have the blood code on. Right now there are all in MVS, so if you are maybe a huge Metal Slug fan and every stage, you have it memorized, more than likely you'll want to go ahead and increase that difficulty and turn it to AES mode, where it actually limits your credits. You can't just continue. Right now you see Last Blade 2. Again, played this on here, played it also on the Nintendo Switch. Works very well. I actually had never owned Last Blade 2. I did own Last Blade 1 for a while before I trimmed down my collection. And, honestly, it's a very decent emulation. Is it a one-to-one for all of these? Definitely not. But considering the price per game at $5, it's even cheaper than the ACA Neo Geo titles on Switch. Again, no tax. Fortunately, if you do buy it from Unico, it was sent to me $4.99 shipped, free shipping, which they were very nice because they did promise that, as they were able to get a better carrier, and also no tax, which was even better. So this was an awesome deal, especially even better than Amazon, where it still sells for $3.99 to $4.99 depending on which you buy. Just the base unit is $3.99 plus tax on Amazon, and $4.99 plus tax for the base plus stand on Amazon. So that said, I mean, it's again a very, very well done, great games, and as far as value for the money, honestly can't be beat. So right now, Last Blade 2, I'm not doing very well, but again, some of the controls, warming up, I did notice that when I first started playing, the controls were a little stiffer, but after about an hour or two, it kind of warmed up. So I think it'll help loosen up after a little bit, and then eventually down the road, I'll once there's enough guides online here at YouTube, I'll probably go ahead and replace the stick. I have heard that the half buttons are pretty well are the recommended buttons to switch to on this arcade unit. Here you see Sengoku 3, a really good Final Fight style game. It does have also Sengoku 2. I don't believe it has Sengoku 1. I don't remember seeing it on the arcade list itself. There are definitely some games that are missing on this arcade unit. There have been some detractors when it comes to this unit itself. There were some complaints that there's a lot of fighting games. And also there are about 30, but honestly, at least in my circle of friends, when it comes to Neo Geo, besides Metal Slug, really a lot of folks that at least, again, in my circle, think of it as the fighting game system. So King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown, the Last Blade series. It does also have great shooters, so I am hoping that next year in 2021 or beyond, we'll be able to legally purchase and add in extra games like Polestar, Last Resort, Z-Blade, Aeroblade, things like that. I do look forward to that. Prehistoric Isle would be awesome as well. Nightmare in the Dark is a great little kind of a platformer that I would love to see. So fingers crossed that they'll be able to license and add those in the future. Honestly, if the prices are decent, maybe $5 to $6 a title, I would completely support that. Or if they sell, their collections in either USB sticks where it gets installed, or you just plug and play, you plug it into the back and you're good to go, I'd be down with that as well. Besides Metal Slug, you do get Shock Troopers 1 and 2. 1 is actually my favorite. It is a very well done top-down kind of Merc, Sakari Warrior style game. You can choose either team play or single player. Of course, this is still an MVS, so you can plug in as many quarters as you want. And to be honest, I did not show all 50 games. Otherwise, if I did, this would be a very long video. I mean, I'm trying to keep the gameplay from at least 1 to 2 minutes each on the games that I am representing. Again, great game. Love the graphics. No slowdown. At least no slowdown that wasn't already present in the arcade game itself. I had no problems with the controls here. Really liked the gameplay. This is my favorite. I prefer this over the sequel. I think most folks would agree as well. The sequel is okay. It's definitely not the worst run and gun that I've played, but 1 definitely kicks its butt any day. Again, if you haven't played it before, I do recommend playing this title. Alright, this is definitely also one of my other favorite titles besides basically Real Bout Special or Real Bout 1. This is Real Bout 2, The Newcomers, and love the graphics, love the gameplay. And there's really not much to really say. The controls are decent. Again, once I warmed up, it was no problem. Really enjoyed the gameplay. Graphics here are nice and smooth, no load time. It's pretty decent, especially once it's fully kind of loaded and in the system. There's basically no wait. Most of the newer games, especially the larger ones, maybe loads right at the beginning for about 2 to 3 seconds. Pretty much the same type of emulation and wait that you would have when you were loading the ACA games on the Nintendo Switch, or if you're playing it on the Neo Geo Mini. I know a lot of folks prefer basically the Neo Geo Mini because then they could put it, say, HDMI out to a larger screen. I would have almost agreed if the Neo Geo Mini and the control pads that you could buy separately actually had analog sticks. I do miss the clicky. When it comes to my fighting games, I do love having that, and I was very disappointed that it was only analog on the Neo Geo Mini. And of course, I love this self-contained unit. It really is. It feels like you do have your red cab miniature at home. Could there be other things that I would have preferred? I definitely would have loved to have maybe the screen just a little bit bigger. There is a pretty large border around the screen itself, and then beyond that, there's another about maybe 3/4 of an inch on the actual screen that isn't part of the bezel, which makes the display a little bit smaller. So I do wish that you could either work the bezels to make the bezels smaller and increase the screen size, so maybe it wasn't so small. Once you're playing though, you do get used to it, but again, that's one thing I definitely would have wished they did. There's a lot of kind of wasted space with the black bezels. Would have liked maybe, I don't know, cover art of all the games, maybe over that black bezel, since it doesn't make sense to really just put one series of controls around that bezel, like some games like the Marvel's of Capcom Arcade 1-Up shows the actual Marvel's of Capcom controls on its bezel. So, there are definitely things that they could have improved upon. Maybe for an extra, $30 more, they would have included the option of buying either half joysticks, half buttons right from the factory as an extra premium for $30. I think that would have been completely worth it for most folks, myself included. If they were to introduce that in the future, I don't know if I would buy it again, to be honest, because I would just go ahead and spend that money and mod it myself. But if in the future, like Arcade 1-Up, they decide to do or include Wi-Fi online play, that could be a game-breaking, especially with Neo Geo games. Since you can't really do that on the Nintendo Switch, it's just local play. So that would have been interesting if they were to add that. And of course, here is World Heroes 2 Perfect, and getting my butt beat. And before we come to the last game, Art of Fighting 3, Path of the Warrior. And one of the things that makes me love the Neo Geo is the fact that it's the same hardware unit from the time it released in 88-89 all the way through its last games in mid-2000s. Just for that fact alone, that they were able to pull off each of the graphical upgrades in all the games, especially like Garo Mark of the Wolves, here at Art of Fighting 3, where the actual animation, as I would say, easily on par with Street Fighter 3, that was just a miracle of just in development. Whereas Capcom, in order to do the same type of graphics as what Neo Geo did, they actually went to 3 different arcade boards, the CPS-1, CPS-2, and CPS-3. The fact that Neo Geo was able to do all those type of games, increasing the graphics each time, is amazing, considering they just did it on one system. Now, overall value for the package, this game, as I mentioned, has 50 arcade games. From King of Fighters 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, Metal Slug 1, Metal Slug 2, Metal Slug 3, Metal Slug 4, Metal Slug 5, Metal Slug X, which is basically 2 but improved upon, Samurai Showdown 1, Sam Show 2, Sam Show 3, Sam Show 4, Sam Show 5, Sam Show 5 Special, Fatal Fury 1, Fatal Fury 2, Fatal Fury 3, Fatal Fury Special, Real Bout Fatal Fury, Real Bout Special, Real Bout 2 to Newcomers, and of course, Garo Mark of the Wolves, World Heroes 2, World Heroes Jet, World Heroes Perfect, Art of Fighting 3, Sengoku 2, Sengoku 3, Savage Ring, Magician Lord, Last Blade 2, Kazuna Super Tag Battle, Shock Troopers, Super Sidekicks, Top Players Golf, 3 Comp Bout, Baseball Stars, and Football Frenzy. Again, if you were to buy these titles on even the ACA eShop for the Switch at $7.99 each, you're already looking at $3.99, and it's all digit titles. You don't have a replica of the actual unit itself. So for me, completely worth it. That said, I do know there's going to be definitely some viewers or some people that just, aren't going to do this. They're going to want to build a Raspberry Pi, make it for cheaper, just download the ROMs, etc. But then again, those folks would even pick this up anyway. So really, it's not really for them, and that's fine. Like I said, I do want to support SNK. The fact that at least this is licensed, this is at least a better quality than the Neo Geo X. And honestly, I still enjoyed my Neo Geo X as a handheld. True, when it was docked, it was horrible, but as a handheld, loved it on the go. I do look forward to what will happen in 2021 as we're able to add in new titles. So I look forward to how that's going to work. Hopefully it's just $5 to $6 a title. I'm completely on board. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.